Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and welcome to my crochet channel. Now, today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the fuzzy bottom scarf. Now, it matches our fuzzy top beanie. We're going to be doing the same stitch, which is the V-stitch using half double crochet stitches. And then we're going to add this fun fur trim to the bottom. Don't panic, it's really super easy the way that I'll show you. And this is just 2 rows. You, of course, can make it longer if you want your fur trim to be longer. It's a really easy pattern, and I think you're really going to enjoy making this. And even if you don't want the fur trim, it makes a lovely pattern for a scarf because it is closer stitched. So it'll be nice and warm for the cooler weather. And I wanted to make a scarf to match our fuzzy top beanie because it makes a nice gift set. Now you can find this crochet pattern on my blog. And as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. I'll also put that link for the fuzzy top hat so you can find both of them if you want to make a set. So the yarn that I used for the body of our scarf is the same yarn that I used for the fuzzy top beanie. It's a Downton Abbey yarn by Premier Yarns. It's a medium weight number 4. The colorway is called Matthew, but it also has a name called White Birch or Birch White. And of course, you can use any medium weight number 4 yarn for the body of your scarf. I had this on hand and I really loved it. It's like a fleck of beige with different shades of brown and black in it. Someone the other day said it looked like a shortbread cookie, and it kind of does, like the pecan sandies. Yeah, now I want a cookie. All right, now the fur that we're using is the fur that I used, of course, on the other one. And this is it's from Yarn Bee. It's called For the Moment, and the color is mink. Now, I don't know how much you're going to want. I've used about 2 ounces for the 2 ends of my scarf, but that's a little more probably than what you're going to need. So if you've got some leftover fun fur or faux fur that you want to use, you certainly can. I really like this one because the strands are a little bit thinner than some of the other ones that I have. Now you'll notice I have 2 crochet hooks out. We're going to be stitching up the body of our scarf using an eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. But when we add our fur, we're going to be using a K hook, which is a 6.5. That's a little bit bigger so that we can get it around that fur, all right? If you can stitch a little bit looser with your eye hook and stitch that on, that's fine. I just really prefer the K hook, the 6.50 for fun fur for me. You'll also need a needle for weaving in your ends on your scarf, and then of course a pair of scissors. So we're going to start, of course, with our main color that we're making our scarf out of. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 30 chains. I have chained 30 chains. I'm going to place a half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. There's the first one, so we'll go in that second chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3. And what we're going to do is stitch 1 half double crochet in each of those chains across. One half double crochet in each of our chains, working all the way across our chain. We began in the second chain from the hook and stitched 1 half double crochet in each of our chains across. So you're going to have 29 half double crochets. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to set up those half double crochet V-stitches. We're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in the first 3 stitches. And this will give us a nice edge where we won't have to come back in and make an edge for our scarf. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and stitch our half double crochet V-stitch in the next stitch. And our half double crochet V-stitch is a half double crochet, chain 1, and half double crochet in the same stitch. We're going to skip the next 2 and stitch a half double crochet V-stitch in the next. And we'll repeat this across. We're going to repeat skip 2 half double crochet V-stitch in the next until we have 7 half double crochet V-stitches. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half double crochet V-stitches with those skips of 2 stitches in between, and that leaves 5 stitches on the end. We're going to skip 2 and stitch 1 half double crochet in the last 3 half double crochet stitches and chain 1. And this is the way that row 2 should look. You're going to have 3 half double crochets at the beginning, and then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half double crochet V-stitches, and then you'll end with 3 half double crochets and chain 1. All right, let's do row 3. We've chained 1. We're going to turn our work. We're going to half double crochet in those first 3 half double crochets. Now we're going to half double crochet V-stitch in each of the chain 1 spaces of our half double crochet V-stitches. And again, that's a half double crochet, chain 1, and half double crochet. And we'll do this in each one of the chain 1 spaces across. Once you've stitched those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half double crochet V-stitches, then you'll go to those last 3 half double crochets and you'll stitch a half double crochet in each one of those 3. And chain 1 and turn. And so again, for row 3, we have 3 half double crochets, 7 half double crochet V-stitches, and 3 half double crochets. So we chained 1. Let's do row 4. So again, we're going to half double crochet in the first 3 half double crochets. There we go. Got caught on a loop there. And now again, we're going to stitch our half double crochet V-stitches in each of the chain 1 spaces of the half double crochet V-stitches. And again, just to repeat, our half double crochet V-stitch is a half double crochet, chain 1, and half double crochet in the same stitch or space, and we're stitching them in the chain 1 spaces. So I have again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half double crochet V-stitches, and now I'm going to move over to these last 3 and stitch a half double crochet in each of those 3 half double crochets and chain 1. And I think now you're seeing how the pattern is going to work. And so for row 4, we have those 3 half double crochets at the beginning of our row. We have 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half double crochet V-stitches, and then 3 half double crochets at the end of our row. Every row for the body of our scarf will be worked the same and will have the same amount of stitches until we put on our trim, of course. And so what you're going to do is continue to repeat row 4 for 133 more rows. And that's going to get you a scarf that's approximately 48 inches long, including the fur trim. All right, so continue to repeat row 4 for 133 more rows. If you want a shorter one, do less rows. If you want a longer one, do more rows. That's totally up to you, of course. But for my project, I'm going to be stitching 133 more rows, exactly like row 4. So I have completed those additional 133 rows. If you want your scarf longer, like I said previously, add more rows. If you want it shorter, stitch up less rows. It just depends on how long you like your scarves or the person that you're making it for. Once it is as long as you want it, we're going to do a solid row of half double crochets on the end. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to half double crochet in those first 3 half double crochets like we have been in the previous rows. Oops, there we go. Now we're going to half double crochet in this space between this half double crochet and the first half double crochet of our next half double crochet V-stitch. So we're going to go in between there and stitch a half double crochet. Now we're going to have double crochet in the first half double crochet, in the chain 1 space, and in the half double crochet. And that's what we'll do across with our half double crochet V-stitches. We'll have double crochet in each of the half double crochets and chain 1 spaces of our V-stitches. And so basically you're stitching a half double crochet in each stitch across. This is going to give us a nice even row of half double crochets across to work with. Almost finished. There we go. Had a little loopy issue there. It happens. Alrighty. Alright, so I stitched a half double crochet in each of the half double crochets and chain 1 spaces of my half double crochet V-stitches across. Now we're going to stitch a half double crochet in between the last half double crochet V-stitch and the first half double crochet of those 3. So we'll go in between and stitch a half double crochet. Then we'll stitch a half double crochet in those last 3. 1, 2, and 3. All right, and so now we're finished with our body of our scarf. All right, so we'll take our scissors. We'll clip that off, and we need to weave in our ends. You'll have a place at the beginning and end, and if you added another skein of yarn, of course, where you'll need to take a minute and go ahead and tidy up your scarf and weave in those ends. And once we get this all tidied up, I'm going to show you how to easily add that faux fur trim. and you're going to be surprised it's much easier than you think. The key is to have that little bit larger hook so you can make bigger stitches and find your stitches. Now, if you don't want to add the faux fur trim, that's totally fine. This makes a beautiful scarf just like it is. I have already stitched on the fur on the one end. And one thing to remember about this particular scarf pattern is it looks the same on the front as it does on the back because of how we flipped it every row we turned. Okay? And it's the same thing with the way the fur lays. It looks the same on the front as it does on the back. All right, so let's get started. Now again, we're going to use our larger hook, which is the 6.5 hook, and our faux fur. We're going to join to that first half double crochet. We're going to grab that faux fur and we're going to stitch a single crochet. And I want to leave quite a bit of tail just because it's easier to weave it in that way. All right, so we're going to chain one, and then we'll go in that next stitch and stitch a single crochet. So now we're all joined up. We're going to chain 3, and I recommend you do chain loosely. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to skip the next 2 half double crochets, and we're going to go in between. And we want to go in between just because it stitches on a little bit more securely. So we're not going to stitch up here in the stitch. We're going to go in between and stitch a single crochet. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And by making these loops, this is going to give us something to stitch in on the second row. All right, so let's skip the next 2 half double crochets, the next 2 half double crochets, and go in between and stitch a single crochet and chain 3. Skip the next 2, single crochet in between those next 2 and chain 3. Skip the next 2, single crochet. I've got half double crochets on the brain. We are single crocheting on this row and chain 3. All right, now before we go any farther, I want to show you that when you come back, you can feel that there are those loops. All right, that's the way we want it to look. All right, so we're going to skip the next 2 half double crochets and single crochet between the next 2 and chain 3. And we'll do this all the way across for the first row of our faux fur. So I've repeated that across, single crochet between the next 2, chain 3 all the way across, and remember we're placing that single crochet between, not in, the half double crochet. And now I'm just going to single crochet in that last half double crochet and chain 1. All right, and that's the way that first row should look. And you can see if you push your fur down how we stitched every other space. You'll have 2 where you stitched. That's how it should look across. All right, so we chained 1. We're going to turn our work and we're going to stitch back across. And how we're going to do that is we're going to find that first loop. We're going to single crochet in that loop and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we'll find that next loop and single crochet in that loop. That's the chain 3 loop that we made, and chain 3. All right, so then we'll find the next chain 3 loop, single crochet and chain 3. And we'll do this all the way across, and this will give us a nice furry edge. And the truth of the matter is, if you want to make your fur trim even longer, you can continue and do this row as many times as you want to. Single crocheting in the chain 3 loop and chain 3. When you're working with this faux fur or fun fur or any other kind of yarn that's furry, it can be very difficult to find your stitches. And that's why I like to do that chain 3 loop, because you can find it right away and stitch right in there. All right, let's get some more yarn out here. I have plenty of yarn. I have another project that I want to do with the fun fur, but I'm going to use or faux fur, but I'm going to use another color of yarn that I have in mind. I have another thing of fun fur actually that I'm going to be using for that other project. But anyway, this takes very little and it moves quickly. So here I am at my last chain 3 loop. I'm going to single crochet, do my chain 3, and then come down here to where we did that first single crochet and join with a slip stitch. This is where it's super duper important to use your fingers and feel where those loops are. All right, now this is the challenge. Okay, I'm going to tie that off, but how in the world do I weave this in? And I'm going to show you what I do. So what I do is I grab that hook and I go down here where I made those single crochet stitches, and I just pull that through, and I'll do the same thing with the one where we started, our beginning tail I should say, and we'll pull that through, and I'm going to do a no-no. I'm going to just go through one and I'm going to tie a knot. This is, you know, not acceptable in the crochet world to tie knots, and I get that. I don't like tying them either. But this particular type of yarn just comes undone if you don't. Because if you look at it, you'll notice, let me go ahead and clip that. I did that knot right there. It blends right in. But if you'll notice on your faux fur, it's actually fabric that's cut into strips. And so that's why I go ahead and tie a knot there. All right. And that's going to keep your fur trim secure. Now, like I said, if you want to make this even longer, you want a nice long fur trim, instead of tying off, you just chain 1 and turn, single crochet, and again, you'll do those chain 3s and do your single crochets in each of those chain 3 loops. All right? Isn't that lovely? I just love how this new faux fur that they've been making recently looks on everything.